Good afternoon and welcome to France versus Australia. France in the black caps, black sticks, with Australia playing white hats, white sticks. We have an advantage puck to Australia outside the French goal. Australia trying to come straight up the middle. Applying some fresh to the French there, but they seem to have stopped it. Just about to be joined by Lewis.
Identical because people are missing it on.
Oh, we're back online now. Varnish puck this time to France, just inside the Australian half. Line it up, big flick through the centre. French player there to pick it up, but he's missed it. Australia swept to the side. Advantage puck warded back to Australia.
Australia take it to their left-hand side underneath the subs area as Mason Gillespie has still got 53 seconds left on his penalty clock. Moving down the pool well, trying to come across, but that's cut out by the French. And currently Australia are set for a quarter-final against New Zealand. Probably a little earlier in the competition than most of them would think they'd be meeting under normal circumstances. It's normally a semi or quarter-final match after the high caliber progress that both teams normally come with. Australia have been battling a few illnesses, I believe, in the side, but all looking fit, healthy and ready to go here, Edwin.
They certainly are. So we have an advantage puck there this time against Australia. We're still down to 5 men. Mason's got less than 10 seconds to go now before he can re-enter the play. French take the puck and they're bringing it out to the near side. Big flick. Australia straight onto it in the tackle, but the referees have spotted something. The game seems to be a bit of niggly with lots of referee stoppages.
Quick take by the Australians. Little Deke, and then he moves out to the left and flicks it back into the centre, but the French alert to it and they hold on. It's a 6-on-5 power play switcheroo, as the Aussies would say. And Beck Gabriel, out he goes for just a minute. Nice flick, close to the head, but missing the player completely. A well placed flick to advance down the right side. Oh, and the flick just doesn't come off there for the Australian number 12, Daniel Gould. But Australia still able to attack here.
The French doing quite well, bringing it through there. They stopped the Australian attack. They are swinging it a bit wider now. Still trying to play up the left-hand side, but Australia have recovered it and are now sweeping it out down the far side of the pool, hoping to go round some of the French players. Successful pass there forward. Australia still making lots of ground. Just over 9 minutes left in this game, in this half. Australia regrouping, now on the 3 metre line, just out from the French goal. French looking to take it to the far corner. France Slowly starting to bring it up the near side wall. Trying to get further away from their own goal. Australia doing everything they can to keep it down that end. Big curl and flick from Australia, which goes straight to the French player, who's met on the wall by another Australian.
A win here could be very big news for Australia, as they could move up to 6th in the table. Currently they're behind the Netherlands based on a head-to-head result, but a win would mean they advance into that position on a points basis of 15 to 12 in their favour. South Africa would still have to play later on in the day. I think they're playing New Zealand, and then the other final game of the day is between France and Turkey. France have this game in hand, so their points total would go up to 21 with a win.
Is it a top 8 playoff?
It is. So currently Great Britain are going to hold on to first place. New Zealand with a win over South Africa will go into second. So the way that's been figured out, if Turkey, New Zealand and Great Britain all join on points, goals against comes into play until there's only 2 teams, and then it's between those 2 teams on a head-to-head. So Turkey would be the losers there with 11 goals conceded, unless New Zealand they concede a few to the South Africans, which is entirely possible, just something to be careful about. And then New Zealand losing the head-to-head with Great Britain means they go into second, GB first, Turkey in third. If France were to win in this game and then win against Turkey, there is a possibility that they would be tied on points with Turkey, and because of the head-to-head result, they would go through into third place, Turkey down into 4th. But who knows, we've still got a long way to go. South Africa could beat New Zealand, Australia could beat France.
Okay, plays resumed after that timeout, and we move back down. No, we have another timeout now. This time it is referees. They've spotted someone they want to send to the bin.
Yeah, they're after Tom Milner. They're looking for a number 1, playing an advantage, and he's just symboled I was playing an advantage, and the advantage was over. So I believe it's still going to be an Australia advantage puck, because the advantage which was being played by the referee from Canada the advantage which was being played by the Canadian referee is from a foul from before. He played the advantage but deemed it was serious enough for this player to go out and sit on the side, number 1 for 1 minute, which is Tom Milner for Australia. And then after Joseph's advantage is finished, it then was another referee who stopped the play, and Australia had the advantage following a foul from France, and that is why it was an Australian advantage. Puck took a while to work out, but we got there in the end. Oh, Tom Milner got 2 minutes.
Players over on the far side there. Australia defending. Just holding it out against the French, waiting for the French to make their move. Australia just sitting there with the puck on the wall. 3-4 French players there, all sitting in a tight grouping, waiting for Australia to make an error. So we have a call from the referees. So it is against Australia. As we set ourselves up, both teams, nearly everyone on the bottom.
I'd prefer if you didn't.
Well, the French one for you down there. Ooh, we have another French player out for 2 minutes, number 5, Benjamin Robson. Also, it's Australian player, sorry. And it looks like, no, Australia, they were successful in keeping that out. It's now an equal puck. But it is 6 versus 4. France with all 6 players in, getting ready for the advantage puck.
Australia will do well to hold out with 4 as Tom Milner's going to get in 11 seconds, and he can make an impact to, help the defence of this team. And Benjamin Robinson will still have about 1 minute and 15 seconds left on his clock. Dangerous swim as it comes across the middle, but Tom Milner will be able to help with that. Well done, Emmanuel, there. He stopped that French switch. There's Tom Milner entering to the bottom. Is this going to be a stick infringement against Emmanuel? Yes, it was. I thought it might well have been, but play allowed to continue as the French took it over to the wall. Wow, that's a big army of Dutch people just walking at the top of your screen. Both men's and women's teams playing at the same time. So the orange wall will be divided. Great Britain taking on the Netherlands in the under-24 women's division. And can't quite remember who the men's Dutch team is playing.
Australia have taken it to the far side. The French have managed to recoup it and sweep it in. That nearly went in the tin, but Australia have brought it across to the near side again. That went straight across the front of their goal. Very dangerous play for the Australians.
Yeah, they love to do that, though. The Australians just say, you won't be expecting us to do this. And then all of a sudden, that's just what they do.
Okay, we're setting up again now for an advantage puck.
It's going to be a timeout to black, though, as they still have a player out on the side. Australia, he'll get in at the next start of play. We'll have a quick look, though, at the under-24 men's table. There we go. So Great Britain, as I said, topping the table. New Zealand and Turkey chasing the way. We've got, I believe, New Zealand and Italy are playing now. In that game, New Zealand are somewhat comfortably ahead, would you say, Edwin?
I think so. I think I'm seeing 6-0 on the screen.
So 6-0 a lead by the Kiwis in that one to cement their place in second. So South Africa taking on the Netherlands. The next game in Court B. Next game in Court A is the Netherlands versus Great Britain in the 24 women's division. And then France will be playing South Africa? Question mark? No, Turkey play France again, and it's South Africa, Netherlands. There we go, figured it out.
All right, very tight tussle there. Australia trying to bring it up the wall. France trying to trap them in there so they can get that crucial first goal in this game.
Yeah, this might be a game where one goal's good enough to win it. Australia had the early pressure, but France are really coming at them now, and Australia just can't get out of their defensive third. They've had struggles. There have been a lot of players in the sin bin. So Australian teams increasing in strength as they come through the competition. That's what happens when you've got players that are fit to play.
Yep.
Oh, unlucky, the Australian player coming down couldn't quite do it. Emmanuel there trying to break away, and he's got some space to swim, but he's shut down. He's still got a puck though, Emmanuel Zapata.
He's trying to get control of it so he can pass it off to a colleague, but he's unable to. It's gone to the far wall where a fresh melee's formed. France coming out this way with it.
Now
Australia have pinched it off them, and it's now back on this wall. So it just shows you how fit these players are, these athletes, because they're gone from side to side without any caution.
First goal to France here. A little gap opened up, the puck fell into the right space, and France take the lead over Australia in this round robin match. Score France 1, Australia 0. 2 minutes to go in the first half.
No goal. Looks like they're setting up for an advantage puck.
Oh, interesting.
Certainly looked like they'd slotted it in.
Yeah, couldn't see from our position any reason not to give it, so guess good positioning by those referees in the water to be able to see.
However, France on the charge here. They've got 3 players down. Only one defender. He's managed to get it off. Well done to the Australian lad there. France coming around, swinging around again. As Australia get more defenders into the mix. And we have can hear the buzzer again. Oh, that looks like cap number 11 has just been asked to go sit in the bin for a minute.
Benjamin Linton for Australia. 50 seconds left in the half. We'll probably get underway with about 40 left on the clock. Oh, it's James Airedale, number 4, who's come up on the screen. And away go France with another power play. James won't be allowed back into the water until the second half. Australia just need to hold on a little bit longer, and they can go in with the scores at 0-0. And the French are going to have to really come out and play if they're going to try and avoid a 4th place finish in a semi-final match against Great Britain. And this foul will see us get to half-time. It's going to be advantage to France, but we're not going to get underway.
No.
As you can see, the referee's just not quite got a puck placed in time. You never will with that shorter time on the clock, just 10 seconds. So we go into half-time with the scores. France 0, Australia 0 in the under-24 men's round-robin match. The final match for Australia, but France will be in action later this afternoon against Turkey in a battle for, well, a potential battle for third. A draw here, not quite good enough for France.
No, France will definitely want to win this if they stand a chance to go up and overtake Turkey in the seedings. They'll need to win this game and the next. Though their goal difference is slightly less, but a head-to-head would give them the 3rd seed placing. Coaches for both teams having their stern words. Certainly see lots of gestures from the French referee. Can't quite hear what he's saying, but he's certainly telling them what he wants to do. The angles of play they've got to make, he believes is the best option to take against the Australian team. And as always, the referees are having their own little chat to confirm that they have taken the best approach for this game. In fact, that's one of the things I've noticed about this tournament. There's a very strong, experienced team of referees, which is good to see, giving the best they can for the players. Just over 1:15 left for the half time. Coaches and players return to the sin bin, and James Airedale's returning to the sin bin, where he can spend the last 12 seconds of the second half. Yep. I believe we have Sandra coming in to take my place in the commentary. So.
Yes, delighted to be joined. It's taken me, I don't even know how many days I've been here, but it's taken me all this time to be able to get long-standing friend for me and one of the first international members that made me fall in love with world's hockey. Sandra Milner has joined me in the commentary booth. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Lewis, for having me here. This is a very exciting and anxious moment for me. Watching the Australian under-24 men battle it out with the French under-24 men.
Yeah, it's been a good game so far. Australia have been on the bad side of the penalties, as we see a team warning for the French for breaking, and Australia should now be back up to a full 6 in the water.
just going in, I think. There we are.
Emmanuel Zapata there working on the left wall. Come to Australia. There's a chance for them to break down the central channel, swimming well towards goal. There goes Emmanuel Zapata on the left-hand side. Trying to force the puck through. Emmanuel looks like he might well have got it through. Has he? Is the teammate there? No, it's been forced back out by the French. Good work, though, by Australia, even though we get a stoppage. So a stoppage there, really close to the goal. Around penalty area, but not a serious enough foul to warrant a penalty shot. But Australia are going to have this right in the centre of the goal on the 5-metre line. Chance to make a breakthrough. The Australian player's down way before the French, and the French were caught napping there, Sandra. 1-0 Australia.
This is so exciting. Australia has had a very up and down competition so far, and this could be the game that really makes us. We shall see.
Yeah, but if you stay in 7th, it means you line up a quarter-final against the Kiwis, and wouldn't that just be terrific? I mean, I don't think you can...
I would think if we stay in 7th, we might be against the Turks.
No.
No?
We've been discussing this.
You're right.
So
you're right.
Because there's a three-way tie at the top currently, goals against takes the first thing to separate it down to 2. Turkey have the highest goals against. GB aren't going to play anymore, so they're safe. New Zealand probably not going to concede that many goals they've not conceded against Italy. So if it goes to the head-to-head for these two teams, and Great Britain won that head-to-head. So it's GB in first, New Zealand will stay in second, and if France were to win, then it would be a chance for Turkey to climb. But if France stay in the same place, I don't know. I've got to double check the results from earlier in the day in the games, but there's a possibility that South Africa and France could swap and all these other things. But I think you'd move up to 6, and then you'd play Turkey.
I thought myself, and not to take away from the game for people, but if it was a 3-way tie at the top, because every team had beat each other, it would then go to a 3-way goal difference.
No. It's somewhere. I can't quote exactly.
It's in the CMAS rules. I know where it is.
I know Sandra says that we don't want to take you away from the game, but I'm sure everybody at home is actually wondering exactly how these teams will go. No,
and perhaps that's something that we really need to get the rule book out and have a look at.
Yeah, there's a rule book. It's written down somewhere. I've had the liberty of being sat next to all the technical delegates and the chief referees as in between games we figure it out and say so what happens in the event of a 3-way tie, because it got really interesting because this happened midway through the round robin.
Yes.
And then GB would just keep a clean sheet, and every team that was playing, it's you don't need to win, just score a goal against Turkey, score a goal against New Zealand, we don't really care.
Yes, certainly we had the same situation in Hungary in 2013 in the men's masters division, where we
came worse off that time.
Actually had 4 teams in exactly the same situation, and that's why I thought it was how I thought it was.
Yeah, well,
but I will leave it to the chief ref to sort that out.
Well, all the tables on underwaterhockeyscores.com equating the formulas that are in place in the international rulebook.
Okay.
So it should be correct what I'm staring at in front of my screen. Big thumbs up to the guys from underwaterhockeyscores.com who work in conjunction with the people bringing you the live footage, Navision Technologies, all their communications when it talks to themselves. Really good. Because it helps. Everything's in real time. As soon as one game's finished, they should have the scores updated on the table. So back to the game as France are trying to get the response, but there's been a stoppage here. I think this is going to go against France as they just got through. And it does. It's an illegal advancement of the puck, and Australia just, not winding down the clock, but every time the play stops and France are pushed back, it's a nice little advantage that Australia are getting as the clock's running down, and the less time the French have to score, the better as we get underway again. So, over on the far side of the pool, France in possession of the puck. If France were to lose here, Turkey would be cemented in third, as it would be a 6-point gap, and there would be no way for France to catch them. I do, however, need to look at the system and figure out.
On the other hand, if France did win, which hopefully they won't, but if France did win and then beat Turkey this afternoon, it would be a whole different story. And that is another... Oh.
So... It's on here somewhere.
6 o'clock.
It's on here somewhere. It's an older game. Looking for an older game, Sandra.
Sorry.
Older game. South Africa versus France. It's on there somewhere.
Yes, I confess I was a bit surprised at the result of South Africa versus France yesterday. The French really lifted and beat the South Africans there. The South Africans had been having a very good run up to that point.
I may well have actually been commentating on that game and I've just completely forgotten about it because I was probably sat next to Hein whilst it was happening. Yes, the French won 6-2. So if South Africa were to win in their game coming up next in Court B on Navision 2, that would mean that South Africa wouldn't go ahead of them because of the head-to-head results. So
that's right.
Really, the only teams that can change are Australia and France, and that fully depends on this result here. The Netherlands could go back ahead of France if they were able to beat the South Africans, and that would make a real mess of the predictions table, which we've got organised for the Live and Kicking show, which will hopefully be on air tonight. Technical error yesterday meant the show was cut short, unfortunately.
I do know, I think every country here has been studying these results very, very carefully and trying to work out their predictions. Now this is very dangerous for the Australians here. The French right up on the goal tray. We've taken it to the corner at the moment.
An unsportsmanlike conduct call.
Is it? Well, ref's time out.
It's 2 minutes for the player. He's swinging over to the sin bin, so France going to have 5 there in the referee's timeout.
But it looks like Australia already has 5. I didn't notice that person, whoever it is, being thrown out.
It's Ben Linton.
Is it?
But it's going to be, interestingly, it's going to be a 5-on-4. France advantage puck. 11 seconds till Ben gets back in. 2 minutes for Florentine, and we'll see just what for the...
Oh, and Hunter Jones is the second Australian out.
So, effectively, we start 5-on-4, but it's going to come back to be a 5-on-5 match. A little bit more space in the pool.
Yeah, and there we go.
Just needs to get to the sin bin because he doesn't know, but Ben Linton was about to drop in. Ben should be dropping in the picture now.
Yes.
Ben Linton should be in the pool now. Maybe the clock went up wrong and they've got it on the stopwatch. But the team delegates are looking at the scoreboard, the Jumbotron, and saying that Ben Linton should have been in the water by, maybe 5-10 seconds before then. And, frustrated as a bit of frustration as the play was coming out to where the sin bin was, and had Ben got in on at the right time, he'd have been able to break down the pool, and it might have been a 2-0 lead. We don't know. Is that Tom Milner who's just so captain and vice captain out on the side of the pool as we go back to 6-on-4 again. When Florentine Dusford and Hunter Jones get back in, it'll be 6-on-5 in favour of France, and Emmanuel Zapata there just holding the puck in the corner. Now this player has to make some sort of an effort to move it out of the...
Yes, and he does, and there's Ben Linton. And...
Whoa, that's a very harsh call. That's a very harsh call. He took it into the corner, he turned around, saw the player coming, and then he got it clearly out of metre, and then Australia cleared it.
Yes.
I'm very confused at that call. That's a controversial call in this match.
Well, and particularly at this point.
Yes, at this point in the position in the pool.
Yes.
Australia need to do well, and here goes Manuel again. Being a fantastic player for Australia when they've been missing, the captain for the opening phases of the tournament, and in they go the first time. So there's the first player for Australia, and there goes Emmanuel, and it's come out to me, so he can take it back in. He does flick it into the corner, but it's France in possession of the puck. Right, back to 6-on-5 hockey we go now.
Ooh, that was a very, very, very close French went so close to getting it in there.
Stoppage now, 6 on 5 it was. And now a penalty. A penalty signalled by the referee at the back, and Sandra's kicking and screaming here, trying to do it silently so the mic doesn't rocket and go off. But tough look for Australia on the bad end of some reffing calls here, and we have a penalty shot. They might be very legitimate reffing calls, but
it may be, and let's see if Mason Gillespie can keep it out.
He looked like he had.
He did look like he had, and the buzzer went.
And I think
I think it's been called a goal.
Yeah,
it's definitely been called a goal. So that's 1 each for France and for Australia.
Well, he never had a chance to get it 6 metres away from the centre of the goal.
No.
Unfortunately. And you just sort of look, he was sort of saying to the referees to say, like, did you see how close to my face that was? So unfortunate there for Australia is the French score, and that takes the score to 1-1. The draw's still good enough for an upset and a chance for Australia to move up the table a little bit. We can go back to that, I think.
I don't know.
I think it should be, as long as the Netherlands don't beat South Africa, but given the form of both teams throughout the tournament, there is a bit of a gap that's created in there. So we look at the table once again. I'll share it with you folks looking at home. 20 seconds till we get back underway. So Australia in 7th, Netherlands ahead on 12. So a point would be good enough to move you up to 6. And I don't know if a game against Turkey is slightly easier than a game against New Zealand for a quarter-final. But then depending, Netherlands would have to better the result of Australia because they have a superior head-to-head.
Head-to-head, that's correct.
Off go Australia, and 25 seconds for Tom Milner before he can re-enter the play and try and help Australia get back ahead in this match.
And Australia's looking very determined here.
Yeah.
Very determined. But there goes Emmanuel. Got it back.
Yeah, just bobbled over the top of Emmanuel Stick. He was in a great place. The French so good at being able to inside flick a little bit higher, and it might have been a dangerous flick, but it just bobbled over Emmanuel's back. But he did great job to turn and draw the stick foul. Australia advancing down the pool, and it's going to be a 6-on-5 switcheroo as Tommy Milner's going to get back in the pool, and there's going to be a penalty for the French player. Just a minute for the deliberate stick foul, but as you can see, a serious foul as Australia were rolling. And now, how's that been cleared off the goal tray? Because there's going to be play on the far side. It goes to the far corner, but there's a referee who's seen something they don't like, and he's looking. It's an illegal knockdown, and it's going to be a penalty because of an illegal knockdown. He says that you caught it on the palm of your hand. So one penalty all, as we've started to say throughout this tournament, is Australia are going to have a chance to go back into the lead. The clock stops on 4 minutes 30 seconds, give or take a second, and we get set up. So who's taking this?
This will be Hunter Jones, and it is in. It is a beautiful. Hunter just swam it in.
Yeah.
Just swam it in. That would usually would be Hunter Jones and Mason Gillespie, but Mason in this case wasn't even needed.
Yeah.
Beautiful goal there. And
I just saw Mason's pink mask strap to be able to identify him, and well, we've got a cracker here.
It is a great game. It is a great game.
See, aren't you glad you joined me?
I'm exceptionally glad I joined you, Lewis. And I'd like to have a big shout out to all the Australians watching at home in the very, very wee hours.
Sean Hartley gave me a message to acknowledge that I was on this show here on Navision 1, home of underwater hockey. And is another French player who's going to be going out to the bin. Stick foul, and looks like it. Yes. So he was playing an advantage. So he was playing advantage for France, and then that meant that he was playing advantage for France for a foul by Australia, but then the Frenchman fouling himself and now having to spend a minute there. But under the advantage, France take the advantage puck, and they're on the far side of the pool.
So the French will be coming in very strong now. We only have 3 minutes and 34 seconds left for them to score that other goal. Australia, on the other hand, will be wanting to make use of just having 4 French players in the water.
Well, they've gone back up to 5 now. Sandra
okay,
is,
so
it's just Ulysses Flandrin
He's
who's
out.
out. And a
And
chance for Australia. Can they get the puck
can they
moving fast
run?
enough? Nice little turn. Emmanuel's got to pick this up here and try and move it out to the left-hand side. Unable to do so. The French player doing very well. Close puck control.
Yes.
Good little scrap in the middle, but foul pulled up by the referees. Stick foul against France. And another player going out for a minute. So just as France are going to get back to 6, number 10 for France, Antoine Grandmas, is going to be out on the side. So Australia start 6-on-4. If they can put together a good drive here, the player who's going to enter from the sin bin will enter behind the play. But here we go with the Australians.
One thing I will say for the French, they've certainly had lovely numbers on the bottom. They're down and they're down flat, and it looks really, really nice. That's another foul called.
And that's just... That's an Australian going out, so there's going to be about 30 seconds for France, who will have a power play once things are sorted out. It's interesting. You say that the French have this nice position on the bottom, which looks really, really great. But both goals have come when France failed to get down and flat on the bottom.
That's true.
The advantage puck where there's 6 of them on the surface dropping down, and that might be something we look at with Matt Oliver for what were they thinking for tonight's feature, because it just was very terrible. There's the puck's in the centre of your tray, 5 metres out, and you decide to drop all your bodies down right at the end, and Australia basically swam it in. And the same on the penalty. There was just no desire by that defender to get down and block the shot, as Hunter Jones just swam it straight in. But France trying to make up for these mistakes and advance down the right-hand side.
Yes, this is a very dangerous moment for Australia here. There were lots of French bodies on the bottom of the pool.
Australia don't want to foul here because Tommy Milner's going to get back in, and a stop means that his penalty clock stops with 3 seconds to go, 2 seconds to go, 1 second to go. And the clock should have stopped. Bad officiating, but I don't think Sandra's going to care.
I'm just looking to work out what just happened. No, it's not a goal. For a moment, I wasn't looking, and I thought they might have scored a goal.
No, it wasn't a goal, but look at this. A mistake by the officiating team. But as I said, Sandra doesn't really care.
No, I confess.
2-minute penalty for the French, and let's just see what the French think of that. As we go to the right-hand side, play moving down the side of the pool.
Having done a lot of officiating myself over the years, in a final at our nationals, I confess I made the same mistake of not turning the clock off at a time of a foul.
So 35 seconds to go. The clock stops this time. As things get set. So 2 players sent out, and wow, a hat-trick in the match for Tom Milner.
That looks like it is, unfortunately.
Not the one his mum will be proud of.
No.
And so just as we get underway again, 4 seconds later, there's a stoppage. Encroachment.
And that's penalties for Australia.
Yeah, and France are going to go down to 3 in the water here because they had a team warning for encroachment, breaking the wall too early in the second half. So an all-action final 2 minutes here is there's all manner of differences. And team warning, and Australia celebrating like they've just scored. It's going to be a 5-on-3 power play, a chance for Australia to score another. But if you just keep hold of the puck,
that's right.
Just keep hold of the puck, Emmanuel. Take it to the wall.
You should never ever count your chickens before they finish. I think we've all seen games where at the very end something goes wrong.
Yeah, but it's going in the right direction. It's going further and further towards the French goal. There might be a little bit of a sucker punch here by the Australians. In full force would be, but they don't care. They've taken it in, and here goes Manuel. Can he get the flick off? He's got the flick off. Controlled on the glove by the Frenchman. Is it gone in anyway?
It's in. Oh,
no goal.
No. Is it?
No, there's a referee on this side saying no, but there was a barge on the tray. They don't really care. Time expires. Emmanuel's just happy that he got the puck down to the other end. I can understand the goal was disallowed, but I'd have thought you'd have said goal disallowed. And it definitely looked from where I was that that French player caught it on his glove as he brought it back around. It doesn't matter though. Australia get a very, very good momentum shifting win, which takes their total up to 15 points, tied with South Africa, but will remain behind them in 6th place. Unless South Africa playing the Netherlands would have to score, let me see, Australia on 31. If Netherlands can beat South Africa by 15 goals to nil, or 15 goals to whatever, then Australia could move up and play France again in the 4th-5th playoff. But you never know.
You never know. This
So-
is world's hockey, and world's
Yeah.
hockey is the most amazing thing.
So 5-5 results for Australia. Let's see what happens between South Africa and Netherlands on Navision 2. Thank you very much for joining me, Sandra. I hope if you do get the opportunity to, then you will join me again on a different day. Until then, goodbye and good luck.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. It's been a pleasure. And once again, hello to everyone out there in Australia. Bye.